provide a list of times that they went to the facility, and we're only going to let them be in the program if they're using the facility 10 to 12 times a month on a consistent basis. So that way we are offering this as a benefit to encourage our, because the statistics are pretty staggering about what an unhealthy employee costs a health insurance plan versus a healthy employee. And if we can do anything to get people's cardiovascular level up, get their weight down, get them to lead more healthy lifestyle. We've talked about a lot of this through the Get Fit Guthrie and Get Fit Logan County initiative, just what it does in general. So we think that's a benefit, and we think this is something that will work well through our partnership, ongoing partnership with the Y. And it's also something I think will be a great benefit that we can offer to employees as a new hire, kind of things. They look at those kind of fringe benefits when they consider an overall place to work. So it's kind of hard to gauge what it's going to cost us because it depends on what employees use it. I would estimate a cost of $3,000 to $4,000 a year is what the city would be paying based on what I would guess people would use. So
I got a question. So are these just full-time employees? I'm
yes.
sure there's some part-time and contract employees that would be included.
We don't have very many part-time employees. I think we've only got 4 or 5 part-time employees and 6 or 7 seasonals.
Is that well-defined, full-time?
Yes, so this would only be available to the full-time employees because those are the only employees that are on our insurance plan. And since, again, it is a benefit to employees that I think they'll enjoy, but the driving force of this is keeping health insurance costs low. It's hard to justify offering it to employees that aren't on the health insurance plan. So, okay. Item 4 is basically the same as item, one of these 32 items on the regular. It's the consideration of the stabilization policy that we talked about last time. We've got it on there as a resolution on the GPWA because that's the highest level you can adopt under the Public Works Authority as a resolution, and we've got it as an ordinance under the City Council meeting. So again, this is the basically the rainy day fund policy that we discussed at the last workshop and that was recommended by the Finance Committee. Alright, going down a little farther, that's it for the Public Works Authority. We get down to the consent item H, and this is simply an item. Cindy has identified a potential grant at the library, and we need to get your permission to go after the grant since it wasn't something that we knew during the budget process. So this is simply just a request to go after the grants. If we were approved the grant, it would come back before you, for approval before we actually accepted anything. So you want to tell them what it's going to be used for if we are successful?
Yeah, it's a literacy grant that focuses on English as a second language and adult literacy type stuff. So we have the opportunity to get between $5,000 and $15,000. So it's a decent sized grant package, and hopefully we'll get some good support and get things going. I'd like to get, from what I've talked to with other literacy coordinators in the area, one of the big things right now is small group kind of social setting situations. So maybe getting a group going out at Crescent and some of the outlying areas to try to boost our literacy in Logan County.
Very good. It's a great program.
Here's hoping.
I have a question. So I don't see anything about a matching. So this is not a matching grant. It's 100%.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Yeah,
no brainer.
Good.
Go for it. Yeah.
Definitely good.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
I actually got an email from a database provider. It's Mango Languages, which is something that I've been looking at, language learning software, and they actually brought it to my attention. So,
I'm glad. That's great.
yeah, I called them up and said, "Thank you, Marco." That's amazing.
We need to give you a raise.
Maybe one day.
Everyone gets one October 1st if you guys approve the budget. Item I is consider approval to award a bid for removal of the dilapidated structure at 1223 West College. This is the last remaining home of our list of 10 that we worked this year. Is that correct, Renee? Mm-hmm. And this is one originally the property owner came in and thought that they were going to renovate and do the work themselves. Found out that it was just you know, a little bit too much for what they wanted to handle. And so this has already been declared a public nuisance. We've already gone through that process. The last step is just to award the bid.
We still have that one over on Warner
Warner.
and Division. They hadn't torn that down.
Was that the one that we approved last
The
time?
402,
That one coming down?
we awarded that last.
Yeah, at the last
2 weeks
meeting,
ago.
that bid was awarded, so that should come down anytime.
Before the end of September, I believe, was the
Was the
deadline that the
contract
contract was gonna do.
Yeah,
So
bid has already
it
been
is-
let on
it
that
is
one.
coming down, unfortunately. There was some potential that
Yeah.
it had some historic significance, and they were not able to
Provide that.
provide that information.
Item K, this is a little bit of a unique one. This is consider approving approval of appointing Sidney Brown as a City of Guthrie Special Municipal Judge. This is actually, we've run into this before. We've got a judge and an alternate judge, and we put a special judge in place for when there's conflicts with the first two. This is actually the position that Sherry filled before she was appointed to the City Council, and obviously she had to leave that position once she was a council member. So this is actually would just be appointing Sid Brown to serve in that capacity as special municipal judge when the judge or alternate judge couldn't hear a case. This would be the third man on the bench. So, all right, items 3 through 9, and these are listed as individual ordinances, but we're going to explain them to you in one group. These are the updates of the building of our code books that we talked about at the last meeting. They are all separate code books, and so the city attorney is making us have several ordinances. So if you have a complaint, take it up with him. But no, this is but anyway, this is again we're going to the 2009 version of the code books, and then in addition to that, implementing the property maintenance code, which we presented to you last time, so that we can have consistency with all of our other communities around the area. And is this the 2009 codes? Is this the current version adopted by the state of Oklahoma?
Right now, yes, this is the one we need to have adopted before.
Is that 12? It's coming.
Yeah,
Yes.
12 will come, and then
Yeah,
you know about
12 is underway, but they usually go about 24 months or so, making sure that the communities have a chance to really go through everything and look for errors.
And these adopting these codes, we're adopting them with the changes that we talked about last time, correct? Like there's not the requirement for residential sprinklers and
That is
you know
correct.
those things that we talked about with the council, they're not in there, so we have
Right.
modified that a little bit.
If I can interject, what we did was to use the wording that I believe it is the state code council had identified, and so that deletes the, must install a fire sprinkler system in residential areas, or residential residences.
Right, and
That won't be there.
that's the big concern that's out there in a lot of the code world right now. Not that it is or isn't a good idea. I know there's some discussion about that, but I just don't think that we're in a spot in Oklahoma yet to start requiring residential sprinkler systems. And so that's kind of the biggest change that people have had heartburn in those 2009 edition of codes, and that is taken out. So that wouldn't be applicable to us.
So is Renee doing a presentation? It kind of looks like a PowerPoint on this. Is that what this is? or-
No, that's the presentation from the workshop that you saw
Right.
last time. So
Oh, okay.
you guys didn't have any questions last time when we went over it, and so we've put them on the agenda for consideration.
I just included it in that first one just as a memory jogger.
I feel in better shape already.
You haven't heard my question yet.
What is your question?
I was just wondering if we could make one motion for all of them.
No, sorry.
Oh,
There's an answer. No, they're all separate ordinances and separate codes, and I think they need to be approved as separate.
I think he said, wait a minute, let me think about it. No.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
We're gonna add 2 minutes to the meeting.
Okay, and then, again, the stabilization fund, this would be adopted as an ordinance through the city council as opposed to the resolution that's presented during the GPWA. And again, that's the highest level you can adopt something as a municipality is an ordinance. The highest level you can adopt something as a public trust is a resolution. So, all right, and then like I talked about, we don't want to discuss item 11 until we get down there with the public interest being in that, we would just be rehashing it twice. So I think we can hold that for discussion downstairs. So. All right, any other questions about the agenda? All right. No, I know. I thought with this long agenda, I kind of thought our workshop would be a little lengthier, but is there?
Do you want to go ahead and explain all the differences on those so we can save the time in the meeting downstairs?
Differences on the codes?
On all those different codes, just
Okay.
what each one of them is? Real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
Do you want to have to do it downstairs?
Yeah, essentially what we've got, starting with item 3. Number 1 and number 2 are our basic building codes. Number 3 is the basic building code for residential building. Number 4 is the basic building code for commercial building. Number 5, the mechanical code. What all does that deal with, Renee?
There you're looking at things like heating, ventilating, air conditioning, those kinds of things related to that.
6, what is 6? The
6, I
gas,
believe,
plumbing,
is the gas piping and plumbing for gas-fed appliances. That's the plumbing system, if you will, for lines that will carry gas, whether it be heaters, stoves, ovens, that kind of thing.
Does it touch on, like a house that's been unoccupied for a certain amount of time, and then they usually won't let them just go in and turn the gas on?
Oh, no, that falls under what's called the gas rehook, and they have to get a special permit for that. We require that a contractor put a gauge on the gas line, then we go out there, make sure it's at a certain level, and it has to hold that set pressure for 15 minutes.
7 is the plumbing code, so that would be the plumbing for water and sewer and
Right,
those kind of things,
right.
not gas plumbing.
No, this would be water and sewer, and the changes that we've made in there is the connection from the house to the main lines of sewer depth at 12 inches below grade, and also the height of the roof pipes being 12 inches above the roof line.
Item 8 is our electrical code.
And that's a little bit different because that comes, it's actually the National Electric Code, and rather than being put together by the International Building Code Group, this is compiled by the National Fire Protection Association, and they're the association that oversees the standards for electrical equipment and so on.
Okay. Number 9 is the one where all the other ones we're updating. Number 9 is the new one.
That is correct.
And this is the International Property Maintenance Code. Again, this is the code that applies to existing structures and is very consistent with what we have in our minimum maintenance standards. And we thought it would be best to move towards this code because this is what the Oklahoma Code Association trains their code enforcement officers on. Our minimum maintenance requirement code is good. I mean, we're not asking to undo that ordinance because there are things that are a little more detailed than what we found in here. But for consistency's sake, we're really trying to get Jim Fish involved with the Oklahoma Code Enforcement Association, get him trained consistently with what people around the state are doing. This allows us to be consistent. Again, it's an ICC code like all the other ones except for the electric code.
So there won't be any questions downstairs then?
That's right.
So we could just go through and say the number and...
Oh, we know now.
You still can't do them all together. So don't try
All
it.
right, you guys can nominate a motion and a second person. You can just fly.
All right.
So move second? So
Yeah,
move second.
Yeah. All right, items for future discussion. I know that we've got on the plan for the next council agenda to go ahead and bring forth the ordinance dealing with the 50-foot strip,
Yes.
annexing of the 50-foot strip. Also is the time where we'll bring back the duck hunting ordinance, allowing for the agricultural 2 to have duck hunting in it. I know those are 2 items that we'll discuss at the workshop and have on the agenda. Is there anything else for the next meeting? And that will be my last meeting. So if there's anything else you want to discuss there. If there's any projects that are unresolved that you want to finish with me, that would be the meeting to do it. Otherwise, the future meetings will be, I assume, with Wanda. Is there anything other than those two issues that we need to get on the agenda before I leave?
Are we
Make it
going-
official that it's with Wanda?
What's that?
Make it official that it's with Wanda after that.
Do we need to, I know last time we gave her a pay bump for that time period that she's
We'll have an executive session to talk about that. You'll need to appoint your interim at that meeting to take place, after my last day. And that's, I would certainly recommend that, but it's something we want to probably talk about in executive session.
I think we ought to have a party for you somewhere.
I think the whole town's gonna party. They're getting rid of that SOB.
In case nobody knows, that son of a biscuit eater. So we're not going any further with that.
Ooh,
so there's no scheduled reception or anything?
well, there should be.
Oh, we'll probably do something. We'll let
Do a
somebody
surprise
else.
party?
Surprise party.
Well, if there's any
The
other,
surprise party is scheduled.
yeah, well, if there's any other business items that you want to discuss, make sure and let me know. We'll get them on the workshop. I've tried to go through our strategic plan and get everything to a stopping point. All of the economic development stuff that was in the strategic plan, I've passed on to Cody. He's got a big list of things to start working on to get comfortable with. We've made great progress and headway, and I'll go over the strategic plan, where we are on all the items so that you know before I leave. We've made great headway on everything except for setting up that community projects task force. That is just something that we have not, it keeps falling to the wayside. We need to get that initiated. We haven't done it. We've talked about it in here, we've talked about a general format for it, but that's really the only area that we haven't been successful in keeping up to the schedule that we wanted. But everything else we're moving right along, and so we'll go through that just so you guys know, to make sure that if there are things you want to continue, that you know where you're at.
So it's community development? What was the name of the group?
The task force, kind of the projects task force.
Projects?
Yeah.
Well, would that be under economic development at all?
Economic development would certainly play a role in it.
Could we have the ED kind of create a plan on how to do that, or
Well, I think
give
this
us
is,
thoughts? That
this
way
would be
delegate
more-
authority to him?
well, this would be more of where you want to gather your group of community leaders that will help take the pulse of the public to see what projects are important. Is it a pool? Is it a ball field? Is it roads? Is it?
Well, I'm saying you could have him as part of the project to help figure out who should be involved, or start the project, create a plan on how to go from A to B and
Do
who
we
would be
want to do
involved, what
stuff like
types of
that, or do
people.
we want to
I
do
don't
Welcome
know.
on board,
I
Cody.
don't know.
Be middle of the
I'd hate to
night,
pull him off of something he just got hired for.
Yeah, and I think
I think he
really.
needs to get in there and really start doing what he should be doing before we pull him off.
It'd be a great way to meet a lot of people and understand what
He's gonna
our
meet him
needs
anyway.
are,
I want to
and
get in on those
just a
parts
thought.
being manufactured for the drones that are going to be flown. And we've got a place here to actually manufacture the parts for it. And they're going to be flown out to Burns Flat. I mean, we're set up perfect for
The
it.
airport?
It's on Mary Fallon's agenda. She's the one that's pushing it, and we ought to get Guthrie in on it.
The airport managers, you know that? Is that something that they would
I don't know
be
if
doing?
does he know about it.
Yeah, we've gone to a conference on the,
They're even making the police drones now. And I saw the police one. That was awesome.
Any other items for the next workshop? That's it. We can adjourn. And
Do we want to put that task force on the workshop to just talk about more about what we want?
it's been on the workshop. We just need to sit down and do the resolution. I mean, you guys pretty much identified that you want a representative from a board, a representative from the different community boards, and then one council appointed person. Just a matter of kind of getting it rolling and setting it up to where it can be successful.
So can we get a resolution by next meeting, before you leave?
I wouldn't recommend rushing that. I mean, I think it's something that, we can start on, but I wouldn't recommend rushing it to get through, because that'll be a very important task force. If they're really looking at the projects that are important for the community and coming up with, different ways to fund them, you obviously want community leaders on that who can go out and be successful in, soliciting donations, and if there's a push, to go after some sort of, taxation for it, that can sell that, and those kind of things. So I don't think that was something you really want to rush, because
I guess the reason I'm asking, because of the transition, I could see another 6 months before we even think about doing it again. That's just kind of that's how that works, you know.
yeah,
Well, that could be a project we want our new city manager to have a little,
Maybe.
that's right.
you know, little project for.
Yeah, because also, I mean, you also run the risk if you rush through and we get a resolution creating it, that it gets approved and then it sits there dormant, you know, which I think would kind of almost be worse than, you know, if it's created and then it does nothing. I think it'd almost be worse than not getting it lit in the first place.
Well, basically where I am on that is adjourned.
I love that you discovered that new
I
path.
do. I dropped the hammer hard.